Hey guys, and welcome to the East Coast preview. Sans New South Wales, of course. That'll be filmed tomorrow with Glenn and Aaron as the special Sydney guests. I'm looking forward to that show. Plenty of winners to be found there. But anyway, let's find some winners. Let's find some winners at Doomben and Caulfield. We're going to do 4 races in Caulfield, the quaddie legs, and we're going to do 2 races in Doomben and maybe touch on a little bit of the good racing at Sunshine Coast on Sunday. Welcome, GK. How you going, mate?
Yep, good mate.
God, that was enthusiastic, wasn't it?
Yep.
It's exhaustion from too many races, is it? And Aaron, what's going on, mate? I know that you've been up watching the Tour de France, and what a night it was. Eh?
I was going to say, don't rely on me for enthusiasm. I was like watching the Tour and then watching England and the Euros this morning. So I'm running on no sleep, but I'm keen on this card.
No sleep, but plenty of winners. Let's get stuck into Caulfield. So race 6 over the 1,700 metres. Aaron, just tell me how you think the track's going to play with this true rail, with the weather, and then get into what you like in race 6.
Yeah, I'm expecting somewhere between a 5 and a 6. A little bit of watch on the weather tomorrow, but we've got an awesome reference point in race 1, which we just haven't had for close to 9 months. It's typically been a 2-year-old race 1, and 2-year-old staying races, they're not the ones you look for, track pattern, track bias. We've got race 1 with Enna's Dream's going to sit, I'd expect, just behind lead on the rails, and Mr. Mbini, who's close to equal favourite with it, is going to settle worse in midfield and rip down the outside lanes. So I'd expect we can go close to stamping if there is any bias or a pattern to look for after race 1. So that's what I'm really looking for. So race 6. Look, I think there's a couple, like this race 6 and race 7, I'm pretty happy to try and steer away from the ones that have opened up favourite off the out wide stuff, which is a little bit unusual. I try to look for the ones coming from the out wides, but I think this has come up pretty short. Nation's CAUL. It's knocked off a wash. A wash came out and won a lip in a midweek the other day, so I don't really think that's ultra frank form. Look, it's fit, it's up and running, it'll be on speed. Well, the best horse in the race, I think, is Lording, which is first up. It was in a jump out with Older, which is also first up off a really long spell, ex-UK horse. And good, my rule, $5 to $10 range UK horses first up. I just can't get the pen out quick enough. Yep. But I was forced to watch the jump out of Older because it was with Louding, and they jumped out about equal, and I thought Louding had a little bit of improvement to come based on what I saw there. So pretty happy to try and steer away from the ones that are firmly in the market. I haven't got a super firm opinion of the ones I'm going to back. I'm likely to back 3. I'm definitely going to back one of them. I'll just go from the top down. Prince of Helena is coming off 2 runs where it's beaten a length and a half behind Munamek. I think if Munnamek's in this race, it's margin's job. And it was held up in parts last start at Flemington when the inside wasn't your best friend, and sort of was right there with them, only got knocked off late. It's drawn a good gate. What a Deal was hammered in betting last start, and I think that was largely due to the change of tactics to be ridden forward. Now, it missed a start, and it was worse in midfield. The pace shape didn't work for it. I think given the gate and the change of tactics last time, I expect they go forward with it. And, rather than the $5.50 last start, you're looking at long odds. River Plate, I think, has had a trainer change recently to Hickmon. The query with it is probably the distance. But if you watch that first up run, it's wide. Most of the run, they go quick relative to the class early, and it only sort of hits its straps late and sort of works through its gears and suggests it actually wants to go up in trip. So maybe the distance stats, you can sort of look past them, I think, with I think it's a trainer change. Frumos was a hidden horse to follow from our review 2 starts ago behind Brazen Lady when it sort of slow out. It was alongside Brazen Lady at the point of the turn, didn't have the best run into the race. Brazen Lady's come out and won since, and then was beaten in a photo there last start. I think from this gate can be ridden more forward, assuming that it jumps well. And then I even give chances to virtually all the emergencies, and they're around 20 to 1. So I think this is an open race that you play 2 or 3 runners.
Maybe some late info from the yard there might give us an extra little tick. Saying that, you have disappointed me, mate, because I've found the up in grade down in weight one, number 15, Nation's Call, and I normally like a little bit of a push from you in this circumstance. Aaron, I just lined it up for like it's the distance it's run over this preparation and what it was peaking at when it was overseas. For me, you start over 14, then you go to 16, then back to 15, now up to 17. This is like grand final to me, getting more to its pet distance. It carried 61 and 62 its last 2 starts with Shin on it. Shin sticks on it now, gets down to 56.5. And if it's as good as one of the runs I found overseas, over the 1800 meters, then I think it should be winning this race. So 15 Nations Call for me. And GK, have you had a look at this race?
No, definitely have not looked at this race. I spent 4 seconds perusing it and was like, no, too hard.
Yeah.
I'll wait till later.
The 4 seconds was Caulfield 1700 meters.
Yeah.
Next race. Well,
Benchmark 84. No, I'll let Aaron have that one.
Yeah. Well, Aaron's tipped about 8 horses there, and I've tipped 1. So if we can't find the winner on the show, if we can't find the winner on the show, I'll be very disappointed. Let's move on to race 7 over the 1100 meters, and you got a map for me, mate, and your selections.
Yeah, well, I might tip 8 horses again here. This is a really fast tempo, a lot of leaders, and just a lot of leaders, like a lot of quick horses that can sustain sort of an 8 to 4 as well. So I'd expect they go out at a pretty good clip here. Yeah, a little bit like the previous race. I'm shocked that Major Share is favourite. I've got like little ticks and crosses, I guess, for finding horses from the out wide stuff. And I had the same amount for Major Share, Piastri, and Reveline. So, I'm a bit surprised that it's come up this short. Can't do much more than, win at every start, but I don't think it's been ultra impressive, and they're really out wide stuff. And you've got proven Saturday horses here, like, again, top down. Get Along, I thought was really good first up. You can definitely argue the fact that the first 2 horses past the post were 1 and 2 in the run, but they did put a bit of a hole on them. And it was a day where you didn't actually want to be settling 1-2, given the wind. And they didn't go out slow. They did go out sort of standard and then standard again from 8 to 4. Oak Hill did just about everything you can do wrong for a horse first time down the straight last start. Shin got off and said, never put this horse down the straight ever again. Didn't appreciate it at all. But what it was doing prior to that was super. And although it's only midweek form, the horse that it beat Kiko and they put a hole in the rest of the field. Kiko came out and won well yesterday. Title Fighter, flop, it's 50s. Flops down the straight, last start, missed the start, and then worked home quite well to be midfield, just had absolutely no chance. What else have you got? You've got a couple down the bottom. I'd even have a look at Reveline if it happened to get its way into the field. But again, I'm probably going to play 2 or 3 and look to try and get the favourite beat.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because there's a lot of horses here where you've got to suggest that they're not proven over the 1100 meters. They look like they're coming off stronger stuff, but stronger stuff in 1000 meters sometimes doesn't relate to the 11. This is the kind of horse I lay, this number 6 Major Share, Aaron, with the, when you've got that kind of a jockey, when you're coming off sort of low grade stuff, there's not really good lines there. The fact that it's only run over the 1000, so it's up to 11 here, I think there's enough question marks to take this one on. Saying that, as you mentioned, you've 3 stars, 3 wins, it might have some upside, but it needs some upside because I think this is the strongest race. If I could give Jit Along the 1100 meter tick, I'd be really interested in taking the $10 at the moment. But it's one where I'm not sure. It's funny when you look at the stats, guys, you'll see that at the distance, have been arguably some flops, but I think they've been in strongish races and not the right stage of its prep. And it might be a little bit stronger now after the 25-week spell and the run last start to sit, you know, in that hardish position and still put a gap on the third horse. Maybe indicates that 1100 is fine for this horse now. So I'm with you. I think that's a nice bet. We just need to cover that 1100 meters. The other couple of interests for me come off some stuff up in New South Wales, which, you know, everybody knows that I have a bit of a tendency to find. But they're reasonable odds. It's number 12, Cinematic Star. Look, it's not coming off real A-grade stuff in Sydney, except for that last race, which I think is very strong. And I thought it was quite nice. You know, wasn't balanced, and we're talking about in flight there. So that's a reasonable line. Its wins previously were against weakish horses. I mean, I suppose you could argue that the Kembla win fallback is now being franked, but I'm saying no to that. Saying that this horse is $13, so who cares? The other one of interest for me, and this is just a great little roughie where I'm expecting a far improved performance, and it's number 18, Yankee One. Quite interestingly, this is one where I'm loving the 1100 meters. If you notice this preparation, it resumed over 12, then 1250, then 12. I actually think this is an 1100 meter horse. We're lightly raced. We're $35 to find out. We've got Gordo jumping on to get this thing running around with 52.5 kg. So I thought it was worth, well, because there's question marks about some of these shorter in the market, I thought I could play each way on one that could come last or could run a really good race, but at 35s, I don't care. GK, do you have an opinion here?
I'd be against the favourite. Like, I haven't done this race entirely, but I would probably be $7 the field here. So if I was betting in this race, I'd be small on a few of the roughies. I actually didn't mind a few down the bottom of the page as well. Like Yankee One, Reveline, you know, they're ones that I'd potentially just have something small on, but probably a race I just won't bet in.
So, Gord, just quickly, when you say like Get Along's failed over 1100 and like going deep dive into them, like I think the last time it started over 1100 it was $1 million race. We got beat 2 lengths and half the field's come out and won since. And the thing with this favourite Major Share, when you go to a Saturday race for the first time, you don't want a rapid tempo. And it's going to find it here. It's going to have to really earn this win. So I think it's clearly a horse you take on.
Yeah, I mean, that $1 million race was actually a 2-year-old race, which, you know, is less significant. But I mean, we're talking Barber and stuff like that. But it led on that occasion and only got run down by 2.5 lengths. So what I'm saying is, if you just look at the data points, you're saying, oh no, this is definitely a 1,000-meter horse. If you interrogate a little bit more, you say you're not proven at 11, but you're also, it's not proven that you don't run 11. We don't know yet, and we'll find out. We'll find out on Saturday. So it's definitely an interesting horse. Let's move on to race 8 over the 1100 meters. And Aaron, map and selections.
Interesting map. I could go firmly one way or the other. I definitely wouldn't look outside of Recommendation or Mornington Glory. They've got, in terms of their form, they've got lengths on this field, I think. Recommendation has led in the past. I remember that day at Moonee Valley when it was a Monty, they just went straight to the front. So it can do it. I think track conditions and yard is just going to completely dictate what I do here. If it's...
Well, saying that, Aaron, everybody jump on board and get into Aaron's room for that extra information, because it's going to be vital, particularly because he's going to be able to stamp the bias quite early on the day and then can really butter up and get keener on some of these later races and find some great bets. So somewhere there should be an icon to click on. I don't know. I never know which way to point, to be honest. Anyway, mate, who have you chosen between the two? Yeah.
Well, I haven't yet. I'll settle on the day. I think if it's a genuine soft track, it really plays into Recommendation over Mornington Glory. But I'd need to see it like really dialed up and ready to go first up, which I do expect it likely will be. But Mornington Glory they're in the same jump out there last start. Mornington Glory pinged. They were both under no riding, but Mornington Glory was the better jump out. And I think if you go back to that... Don't you think
they showed a little bit more intent on Mornington Glory than they did on Recommendation? That's what I was thinking.
A little bit early, but again, that's probably an additional tick in its favour, isn't it, that they're going first up? especially this camp. I think if you had to pick one from the Oakley Plate that was the better run, you would side with Mornington Glory. It settled behind it. It was really on pace, dominated race, and it was slightly wide. And although it was underwriting earlier than recommendation, it did go sort of straight past it. Not much, but I think it was the better run. So, yeah, it's completely yard and track conditions for me, but I could go firmly one way or just completely leave the race alone.
Yeah, well, I was looking at those two as well, and then I decided what am I going to make the major factor here to decide between these two, because I kind of want to bet into this race. You know what I mean? I just want to back one of these two, and I just have to go with Shin because I'm just in love with the guy at the moment. I think his balance is just so beautiful. So I'm going to give the tick to recommendation over Mornington Glory.
Do you
But
think
it's
he'll
quite
lead?
scary.
It's not his style, though.
I don't think he'll lead. But sometimes you got no choice, do you? You know, like we'll see. Leave it up for him to sum up, but it's not a normal play from somebody like Shin.
Yeah.
GK, could you find something here or?
Well, I haven't done this race, but like properly on the data. But I guess the thing for me is like, when I look at this map, I actually preferred the map of Mornington Glory. Like Party for Two, like its last 3 or 4 runs in Queensland, like it has become one of the fastest horses out of the gates in Queensland. Like it's going to kick up there. Like I can't see them crossing it from barrier 1. So recommendation could be 3 wide here. And, that Mornington Glory could just be, in the spot behind the speed. Like, are they going to be able to get across on recommendation there? I don't know. Like that's a bit of a
shoot start though.
Yeah, I guess shoot start. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting race.
Tempo there.
Let's move on to race 9 over the 1400 meters. Aaron.
Yeah, really interesting race. Again, this is going to come down to conditions of the track on the day, I'd expect. Whether the inside's any good this part of the day with the true rail, with Chorlton Lane, and how soft the track is. Like Chorlton Lane looked a good thing going into last start, but the rain on day just didn't help it at all. It had absolutely no ping. Rheinberg, which beat it, there was an absolute triple A1 position. It was right behind the speed and off the rails. If you lobbed that sport and you had ability, you were just winning every race, especially that part of the day. But I don't think it was 4 lengths advantageous position. But I think if the track firms up, Chorlton Lane's probably the horse to beat if the inside's okay, but it just showed no dash on a track where, look, we did have rain on day. We're not going to get on Saturday, but it really didn't look to handle it their last start. Rheinberg clearly can handle it and can position itself, in a very winnable spot, especially at this track and trip. And then you got St. Lawrence, which, a lot of people were, hypey horse, quick to put the pen through, I think, off its run there 2 starts ago when it loomed up. But coming through that same race, barrier 1, it didn't matter who you were putting your pen firmly through them. You were just not interested in a horse drawing the inside gates that part of the day. And it ran a bottler. And it's clearly shown the flops in its career have been those 2.9, 3.1 decks, and it's not going to get that on Saturday. And it's drawn off the rails. So, if coming down the outside, sort of 1 out, 2 back is a spot to be, it's right in the race. So I wouldn't be looking outside those 3, but yeah, haven't settled one way or the other yet.
Well, I am looking outside those 3 for a little bit of a roughie, and people are going to think I've got a bit of a man crush because it's going to be B Shin on a stero. So what a massive jockey change there. Linda Meach off for Shin on. And if I could price this off either the Newcastle run or the Ramwick run, then I'd have it in single figures, not the $14, $15 that is going to be available here. So just ignore that run last start, guys. Straight racing at Flemington is just a completely different beast. So just say, okay, we've been down in Melbourne for a while now. We've had a hit out. Now it's time to pick up, particularly because, you know, it's run at Randwick before it went down was over 13, then it dropped back to 12 down the straight. That you could call that a glorified barrier trial. And the booking of Shin just really interests me. So yeah, I thought he'd had a chance. The other one I kind of like is St. Lawrence, but it's getting expensive, Aaron. You know, when you're expecting to make a lot of money out of a horse and you're in the red on it and you're like, am I just not reading this horse right? I'm starting to get a little bit of an icky feeling there.
I think the point we made in the preview last start was they just stretched it too far. Like, it's a 1400 meter horse. You can't run like 16, 1800, which they tried it. When they've run it sort of this trip, it's been right in its sweet spot.
Yeah, it is definitely an interesting horse. GK, did you have an opinion there?
No, nothing from me there.
Okay, well, let's get on to some stuff where you can have some real strong opinions, because let's move over to Doomben. We're going to do the last two races. So race 8 over the 16. Do you want to just let us know how you think the track and weather conditions are going to be on Saturday, and then get into to race 8?
Yeah, sure. So we're currently a 7. I think it's probably going to be a 5 on Saturday. We've got no weather around, no wind. It's pretty cool weather. It's interesting to work out how the track's going to play. Like, we've had a number of midweek meetings at Doomben in the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks. But in each of those occasions, we've had the rail at sort of 5, 7, 9, even 11 at times. And now we're back to half a meter. And the last Saturday meetings we had here, which was like 6 or 7 weeks ago, the inside 3 lanes were just completely rooted. So it's a little tricky to work out how this will play, whether the inside will be off again or whether putting the rail back too close to true is going to make the inside the place to be. At present, I'm sort of just treating it as normal Doomben, that I want to be up and in. And then, you know, that just provides options that if the lanes 1 to 3 are off, you can just sort of head towards, you know, the middle of the track. But there's a few factors sort of to bake in there as well.
So yet again, GK, you're saying, like, similar to Aaron, that, you know, you'll be making adjustments during the program when you can stamp the bias.
100%.
Not that we don't do that all the time, but on some tracks it's even more a factor, isn't it? Which seems like Saturday's going to be.
Yeah. So race 8, we've got a mile race, benchmark at 85. There's actually really good tempo in this race. The only thing I would say about this race, and really the card as a whole, is that we've got 4 meetings between now and Sunday, and there's a huge number of dual nominations. So that could potentially change the map and the strength of the tempo in some of these races. But on paper here, there's really good tempo. Look, for me, the starting point is Madame Odette. I really loved the run last time at Ipswich. Was pushed wide on the turn and really had to do all the sort of the donkey work by itself. Took a little while to wind up, but was just really strong late. And the leader got a really soft run. So I think this race here, we're going to be able to sort of sit midfield and to be produced late. And, you know, we're third up, we're ready to peak. I think it's really hard to get away from Madame Odette. There's other bits and pieces here which are interesting. Like, we've got a lot of Sydney horses actually through this whole card, but like Cinquettore seemed to just lose its way. And then it's just gone to a couple of rubbish races here. And, you know, one on the Poly at the Gold Coast, which would have been fun, and probably like a $28,000 race. And it was okay in a midweek race and received support, but I couldn't have Cinquettore here, especially on this tempo. And then there's a couple of other golden runners here which are interesting, but pretty happy to be with Madame Odette, and we've already bet.
And GK, you were graying me up there, mate, because you started off your summation about where you want to be as far as Doomben is concerned on Saturday. And I'm thinking, geez, I'm really keen on Madame Odette. What are you doing to me? Because the only question I have with this horse is the map.
Yeah. I just think, given the tempo here, I think we can probably overcome that. Like, there is really strong tempo in this race, and we're just going to get a drag that, you know, when there's enough tempo at Doomben, that should be fine. Like, I think we can sit midfield here.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, I'm liking Thornton jumping on. I'm liking that win at Eagle Farm previous preparation, and this horse is just going to be absolutely peaking third up, I'd suggest.
And it's won third up twice.
Yeah, why? I just am a little bit cautious about backing favourites reasonably short when I got a slight question mark about the map. Aaron, did you have something here?
No, absolutely nothing. I found it borderline hilarious. They've moved the rail out half a metre. What a mundane task that would have been for the
Yeah.
guys on
Like,
track.
why are we doing this? They must have been,
Fucking hell, just leave it in the true. But yeah, no, nothing for me there.
Beauty. Let's move on to race 9 over the 1350. And GK, what do you got?
Yeah, another race with good tempo here. There's a few that may come out in the next few days, but yeah, decent tempo here from out wide and also sort of drawn low, like should produce a tempo which should suit most of these. Look, it's an interesting race. There's form coming from everywhere. And I think there's a few different form lines here. Like one of them is the Hidden Wealth race on the 29th of June. And that race, they absolutely walked. They were like really slow early sectionals, and then they sprinted home. And we're going to get a completely different race shape here. And then the other lead up is the Atlantic Ocean midweek race. I'm just amazed that midweek race that Atlantic Ocean won is where the market has currently landed, and they've favoured Atlantic Ocean and denied coming out of that pretty piss weak midweek form compared to proper Saturday form. So
You know what sort of jogs something with my head there, GK, is that I backed Pizarro off its 2 really stylish midweek wins coming to Saturday. And obviously it's just really just a different beast as far as quality is concerned, isn't it?
But even that race where you backed Pizarro in the Hidden Wealth race, like they just had no hope in that race.
Yeah.
They dawdled to the 600, and then Hidden Wealth is just going enormous and then just sprinted away from them, right? So anything further back than sort of third had none in that race.
Yeah.
So I think you've just got to completely forgive all of them, right? So where the market is now with like the prices of Atlantic Ocean and Denied, like I just think that's absolute madness. Like I'm double that price. So look, I've gone looking for the others. Like the first one that I've already backed is Sydney form, Devil's Throat. In that race, drew wide, went back, got to the outside, finished off as well as anything. Actually better than most of them. It was the third fastest last 400 of the day. Draws better here. I think it can sit closer. It was $26 last night. I think that's ridiculous. Flying Trapeze, another Sydney horse with Sydney form, was pressured, made to work early last start on pretty quick tempo. And I think the previous form would well and truly be good enough to be competitive in this. And then the other one was Mr. Maestro, which it's nominated for Rockhampton on Friday, but has good Victorian form. Now we've got to change stable. Trial was nice. Really like the last 100. And this stable, when they get one of these imports, they want to win first up, just like they did with Atmosphere at Ipswich 2 weeks ago. So Mr. Maestro was $51 last night. So I've backed those 3. I think they're ridiculous prices, and I think the favourites, Atlantic Ocean and Denied, are absolutely absurd prices. I think the market's wrong.
Well, I totally agree with you about the market being wrong, but I've found some different horses here. So if we're right with that being the wrong lineup, we'll definitely find the winner, GK. But Aaron, do you have an opinion first before I mention my roughies?
No, I had a tiny spec on Mr. Maestro. GK messaged me last night and said, "What the fuck is this horse doing at 60 to 1? The horse started $13 in a Moonga Stakes like 8 months ago and didn't get beat far. Stable change, good gate. Stable changes, they're always going first up. They're always trying. So yeah, it just seemed a crazy price.
The horse of most interest to me is number 3, The Vows, coming off that Hidden Wealth race where it was actually in the wrong spot, as GK mentioned also. And the reason why I went for this one was because I thought it had the most upside because it was first up on that occasion. So it's got a pattern of improving dramatically from first up to second up. And I've got some really good runs in its career. Like, it was a bit of a hypey horse at a stage there, GK, and maybe, you know, not as good as we thought it might have been back then. But look, if it's even close to that, I think it'll be really competitive around the $15 mark. The other horse, good old the ex-David Payne horse down the bottom here, Mahogany, guys. It's it's a really interesting horse because Jesus, it can do some crazy stuff. We're talking about a super exposed horse, of course. The guy, I didn't mind its start to its career up in Queensland, the second at Eagle Farm there to Iverson. I think that was all right. It's had a little bit of a freshen up trial. Can really ping late. Like, it's one of those. It's such a hit and miss horse, but you know, it's one of those ones that I always back around that 20 to 30 to 1 range because I know it does have a good run up its sleeve. You just got to stay patient around those sort of odds. Yeah, that's a really interesting race. So maybe the main thing is we'll be hitting the pink button, GK. So is that
yeah,
that could be a bit of fun. Saying that, everybody sign up for GK stuff. Brisbane Pro, go there or there. I'm not sure where it is. And yeah, jump on. And GK is kindly giving 2 weeks for free while he's getting this fantastic product out there for everybody to jump in and take advantage of. On top of that, Aaron does awesome work, not just on the Saturday Metropolitan stuff, but there's information all during the week. I'm trying to get him to start a new channel called Tour de France or Cycling World after him backing Vingegaard last night. So
Love Jonas. He's a star.
So jump in there and yeah, have fun
50 to
all
1
during the week. And GK as well, like the stuff on Wednesday, if he finds really good bets out wides on the Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, that information is in the room as well. And saying all that, because we have Sunshine Coast, the called off races running on Sunday, there's all that information in there that you can take advantage of as well. And saying that, GK, let's just quickly have a chat about the Glass House on Sunday over the 1400 meters, mate.
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing is just to talk about the track. Like, it's still a 10. It's clear weather, but like, if you watched any of those early races at Sunshine Coast last week, it was a heavy 28,000. So look, I don't know. They'll probably put it up like a 9 or a 10. It might play like an 8 or a 9, given there's no weather on the day. Most of the field that were nominated for this race last week are here again, but they opened the nominations, which is really annoying because now I've got to redo the race. And one of the new additions to the race kind of changes things, which is Punch Lane, which won last week on the bog. They went forward, which was a little bit of a surprise, and no change of tactics put through, of course. But Punch Lane's presence here, I think, does change things, especially because it's drawn 2. So I have to redo the race, but there's not huge amounts of tempo in this field, which is why last week we were keen on What It Goes early at the price, just because we thought it would probably get a really good run. Where What It Goes has drawn 7, so yeah, it probably gets a nice run again, but Punch Lane's drawn 2. So, you know, if they do what they did last week and they push up on Punch Lane,
They punch up.
They're going to be right here in the firing line and probably get a really nice run on the minimum. So, you know, I haven't seen prices yet because acceptances came out 45 minutes ago, but I would expect Punch Lane to probably be shorter than $5 in this race. Maybe it's $4, $5. What It Goes probably around that price again. That's probably where I'd start. Like, I'm just against the inevitable here. Like, with the lack of speed, 60.5, heavy track, I just don't think this is the right race for the inevitable, and it'll be firm in the market. And I think it's a hole that we can use to our advantage.
Yeah, I think it's a really open race, man. I think yet again, GK, it'll be one where I really want to assess track conditions, and because it's going to be one of the later races in the program, we'll have more information because, you know, I could entertain some roughies here that might just slot in that midfield position and be able to peel. But anyway, we'll see on the day. Aaron, you actually you actually had a tip in this race last week. Is it still the same, or what's the go?
No, like the track conditions are completely different. But thank Christ they called the meeting off, because Brudenell, just had no chance.
Yeah, and
And
that was
thank
the
God,
primary bet on the day.
Thank
Yeah,
God they
there.
called it off, because it was
Yeah.
like, you can't lay it off. You're just willing to go down with a ship at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah.
But
It's
no,
drawn wide
I'll,
again in the last, actually. So
yeah.
do we learn our lesson from what the market was telling us there, or do we just think the market was wrong?
No, we knew that if it was worse than an 8 or a 9, it was just not a bet, and they were happy to just smash the pink
Yeah, but
button.
sometimes they overblow too. So it's like, you've assessed the horse.
Yeah.
Let's say you've assessed the horse $4, okay, and then the rain comes. The track conditions are far worse than you expect. Sometimes they blow it to 12s. You know what I mean? And then if I'm readjusting the 4s, maybe I'm 4s to 8, which makes the 12s value. So
Yeah,
it's a subtle
I didn't
thing.
want it. No, my tip is, you're fucking mad if you watch this and you don't jump into GK's channel, because he's been doing it for 2 weeks. He's going at 20% pot, betting on Saturdays and Wednesdays and out wide stuff, and it's no cost. You can jump in there 2 weeks for free and cancel it if you don't want to go on with it. Like,
It's absolutely a
give it a
sensational
go.
product, and we've got so many good products, guys. Sign up to RacingRant as well, and get all Mark and Glenn stuff, and Mounting Yard Mail, and Aaron doing everything. Jack of all trades down in Melbourne, doing them all brilliantly. Toby over in WA doing form in the yard. Kaz, Mr. Hong Kong Pro, Mr. Big Better, Mr. Big Man, in there, giving absolute value to everybody as far as beating SP is concerned. We'd like to see a few more of them winning at the moment this season, but we're still in profit, so not too bad. So beautiful products everywhere, guys. So jump on board with RacingRant, and thanks GK, and thanks Aaron.
Pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck, guys.